Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 0 of my PySimpleGUI course. In today's video, we are going to do three things. We are going to download Python, PyCharm, and PySimpleGUI. Let's get started. Alright, so let's start by downloading Python. Alright, let's open Chrome and then go onto Python, like the official website. Alright, so this is the official website. We're going to be downloading Python 3.11.2. Right now it's March 22 of 2023. And if you're a Windows user, you can click Windows to download this. Alright, so this is like the history, all the updates. The version that we're going to use, we'll provide it on Google Drive. We'll put it in the link. And then this is the one we're going to download for Python. This is a pretty big file, so this might take a long time. And don't worry about this, it's not that dangerous. So this is also achieved from the official website, so don't worry about it. Oh wow, this downloads so fast. Okay. Oh, we already downloaded this. We can just press cancel or close it, yeah. Alright, so now that we downloaded both versions, we can start with PyCharm. Alright, so for PyCharm, we can just download it from the official website as well. Right, so yes, this is the official website. Alright, so there are two versions, there's professional and community. We're gonna download community because it's free. We can download the .exe file. Alright, so when we download the .exe, we're gonna not use ARM64, we're gonna use exe because normally everyone uses Windows. We use Intel x86. Alright, so we start downloading. Okay, yeah, now it started downloading. Oh wow, this takes 2 minutes. Alright, this takes quite a bit of time. Alright, so I should mention that this is a 2022 March 3rd edition. We're not going to be using that edition for our lesson. We're going to be using a 2019 March edition. We are going to be able to find that in the Google Cloud. Okay, yeah, here we provided the link beside the Python file. Alright, let's finish downloading. Let's look at it. Alright, so this is Python 3.12, this is Python 3.7, and this is PyCharm Community 2022 edition. Alright, so let's try to find the one that we downloaded from Google Drive. Oh, alright, this way is so much faster. I should probably mention that this edition of PyCharm is also from the official website. It's just a little too old, so it got took off a few years back, but it still works. It looks like this is gonna take a minute. Let's show it in the Explorer. Alright, let's look at so as we can tell, this is the 2019 version of PyCharm, and this is the 2022 version of PyCharm. This is the 3.7.2 Python, and this is the 3.12 Python. Alright, so now we downloaded 4 packages. You can do whichever ones you want. Alright, so I already said we're going to be using Python 3.7 and PyCharm Community 2019 March edition. So those are the ones we're going to be using. If you already know Python and PyCharm, you can download the most recent updates. But if you don't, then I suggest you follow our list. Alright, let's start with installing Python. There are 4 packages in this file. You can pick which version of Python to install. We're going to start by installing Python. Okay, so because for the lessons, we're going to be using Python 3.7, so we're going to showcase how to install Python 3.7. If you already know how to use Python, then you can install Python 3.12. Okay, so we click this. Yes. And remember, we need to click add Python 3.7 to path. We need to add the check mark. Okay, so the default installing choice is installing now at that address, and that's what we want. It'll also include IDLE, pip, and documentation. Okay, so it says the setup was successful. If you want to learn about it, you can go to the online tutorial, or you can read the documentation. Okay, so over here it says disable path length limit. We are not going to click that, because if we click it, it might have some compatibility problems. Okay, now that we can close it. Okay, so now that we finished installing Python, we can make sure it works and test it out. Okay, so we can press Windows, and we can click Run or Execute, and then over here we can type Python. So since this works, it shows we installed Python successfully, and at the top here, this shows the path to find Python. Another way we can do this is by pressing Windows and going to the IDLE. I should also mention that IDLE is abbreviation for Integrated Development and Learning Environment. Okay, so we open the new file, and then we can test this by typing out print hello world. And then we can run this by clicking run module, which the hotkey is F5. Okay, so this is a Python interpreter, so it needs to know where the code is before it can actually run the code. Okay, so we're gonna save it under desktop, Python and PyCharm, and we can name this file called first test. And the file type is gonna be .py. Okay, so we run it and it prints out hello world. From this, we know how to edit and run the code, and this also proves that Python's installment was successful. Alright, now that we finished installing Python, let's continue by installing PyCharm. So in this file, we have 2 PyCharm packages. One is from 2019 and the other is from 2022. So one of the versions is from 2022 March, and the other one is 2019 March. The 2019 version was downloaded from the Google Drive. Okay, so for the sake of the lessons, we're gonna showcase installing 2019's version. If you already know how to use Python, then you can install PyCharm 2022. So first, we need to extract the package. Okay, so it finished extracting, and then we can run this file. So over here we click yes, and then over here we click next. Over here the default location is okay. So we want to install this onto an SSD solid state disk, that way it'll be faster. Okay, so over here we should select 64-bit launcher, add launchers dir to the path, add open folder as project, and create associations to .py. And then we click next. And then here we're selecting subfolders. JetBrains, the default one is okay, we can go with it. Alright, so now it started installing. Alright, so now it already finished installing. You can choose to reboot your computer now, or you can manually reboot it yourself. So we're gonna choose to reboot it now. Okay, so you can open PyCharm two different ways. You can open it by double clicking the shortcut on the desktop, or you can go through the Windows button. It's on the top here. You can choose either way to open PyCharm. And then it will ask you if you want to import PyCharm settings. If you're a new user to PyCharm, you just click Do Not Import Settings. Okay, so we click I confirm, and we click continue. Okay, so I'm gonna click don't send, but if you want, you can also click send usage statistics. Okay, so over here, we're gonna click skip remaining and set defaults. Okay, so now we're on the opening page. Okay, we're gonna create a new project. For the lessons, we have 50 lessons in total. We're gonna be putting all of them in the same project. So over here, it tells us to select the location. Okay, so we're gonna put all of the files under PySimpleGUI. Okay, so over here, as you can tell, the PySimpleGUI project has been created. If you want to start a file, all you need to do is right click and click Python file. So if we want to create the file for lesson 01, all we need to do is type 01 and click that now. Okay, so you can also customize some settings. Go to settings and then appearance. You can customize like the layout and stuff. We'll show you how to do that later in this video. And then over here we can type out print hello and then world. And then if we want to run this, we just need to right click and then click run lesson 0. And then if we click it, then it'll print out hello world. That's what we want. If you already ran the file, then it'll show up over here. Then if you want, you can also just click this to run it. But the first time you still need to right click and then click run to run it. Alright, so this is all we need to do to install Python and PyCharm. Now onto the next step, installing PySimpleGUI. The first two steps were installing Python and PyCharm. And now we're on to the third step. Let's see how to do it. First, let's go into the DAOS environment, then the CMD, the command prompt. And then over here, we go into the DAOS, and then we type here, where the thing is flashing. So we type pip install, and then we're doing the library PySimpleGUI, capital P, Y, capital S, simple, and then GUI are all capital G, capital U, and then capital I. Then we press enter to run the command. So as you can tell, it says successfully installed PySimpleGUI. Now normally this would be finished, but if you're using a virtual machine, then you can watch on because there's another step. Okay, so now that it's successful, let's try it out. Alright, so we right click PyCharm, and then normally we can open it, but we're using a virtual machine here, so it's kind of slow. Alright, so again, if you're not using a virtual machine, then the installment is already complete. You can test it out. But if you're using virtual machines, then watch on. Alright, so if you're using a virtual machine, then watch the next. So we click File, and then we go down to Settings and click it. Then we click Project, and then Python Project Interpreter. Okay, so if we look at the package, it's only pip and setup tools. PySimpleGUI isn't included in it. Then what do? We click the plus sign beside it, and as you can tell, there's a search bar. Inside the search bar, we can type PySimpleGUI. So we already installed PySimpleGUI onto our virtual machine, but the package doesn't know, so we need to tell it that we already downloaded it. So we click the install package button at the bottom. So as you can tell, it says the package is installed successfully. So as we can tell, inside the package, PySimpleGUI is successfully added. So on the left, there's a drop down called Appearance and Behavior. This is where you can customize the stuff you want, like color and stuff. But for this lesson, we're just gonna keep it like this. Now let's test out a code. So over here, let's go into lesson 1.py. So over here, we import PySimpleGUI and do sg.main. Wow, wonderful. Okay, so if we look at this, there's a gallery of all the possible things you can do with PySimpleGUI. Alright, let's take a look. So over here there are buttons, and this is a graph. Over here, these are like multiple choice groups and binary choice groups. We refer to all of these as elements. In other interface designing tools, they are sometimes called widgets. So these are combo item lists. And then here we have tables and trees. And over here we have sliders. They can be vertical or horizontal. Over here we have input multiline. They're like input boxes and multi-line input boxes. Here we have pop-ups. There's like normal pop-ups and other types of different pop-ups. Here we have themes. Over here we can just write a theme name and press OK, then it'll work. We'll be learning all of these in our lesson. Although this might seem a little complicated, if you understand how to write it, then it's not actually that hard. Okay, so now we finished Python, PyCharm, and PySimpleGUI's download and installment. As a recap, the first step was Python, second step was PyCharm, and third step was PySimpleGUI, the module. Alright, that concludes this lesson. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And remember, learning at Work for Tuition is easier than addition.